doesn't move. Under cornering, it doesn't move. It's just flat. If you want to get someone who loves cars really excited, all you have to do is mention 3 little things. 911. And if you want to make them fall out of their seats, even nice carbon fiber buckets like these, you just have to mention 3 more. GT3. I'm here in Spain, just outside of Valencia at the Circuit Ricardo Tormo, a stop on the MotoGP circuit to get acquainted with a modern legend, the Porsche 911 GT3 992.2. It's gonna be a good day. After putting in some fast laps around the track with the standard version of the GT3, we'll also get a chance to drive the touring version on the street with the 6-speed manual. And please remember to like and subscribe if you're enjoying our videos, and if you're in the market for your next car, whether it be a GT3 or a Honda Civic, head over to Edmunds.com for all the latest news and info, and while you're there, you can even get an instant trade-in offer on your current set of wheels. Back to the action. Alright, here we go. Entering the track now. Stay outside the white line, of course, because we're exiting the pit lane. Down into turn 2, out of the long straight. I don't know if you can hear me. That engine behind me is just so loud. Hard on the brakes into turn 2. Let it wind all the way out here. Set yourself up for 3, which is a flat out corner here. Turn 4, another late apex. So many late apexes at this track. And the GT3 is kind of perfect for that, because under braking, it's an absolute hero. And that starts with the suspension, in particular, the front suspension. What Porsche says that they've done is they've reduced the size of the bump stops. Now, bump stop might not be the sexiest word in the world, but the results are quite attractive indeed. What Porsche said they wanted to do was increase the amount of travel that you get out of the front springs. So you shrink the bump stop, you increase the amount of hydraulic pressure near the top so you don't actually hit that bump stop. And as a result, they say that the nose actually pitches about 50% less under hard braking, and that just really increases the front stability of the vehicle. Changes made to the front suspension mean that even when you're hard on the brakes coming out of these long straights here at this circuit, where we're hitting speeds well over 200 kilometers an hour, that even when you're hard on the brakes like this, the front end of the car just doesn't move at all. There's like no dive. But oh my goodness, this car brakes like nothing else that I've ever driven before. And the best part is it doesn't feel artificial. There are other vehicles that have suspensions that do magic underneath you. And this one, it doesn't feel like magic. It just feels like it's really, really well sorted out. I know that this has PASM. I know that it has an adaptive suspension working underneath me, but it feels so mechanical in the absolute best possible way. Our test vehicle also came equipped with the Weissach Package, which Porsche is offering for the first time on a non-RS model. It adds carbon fiber bits inside and out, and even certain suspension components are also made of carbon fiber now. Unfortunately though, this carbon fiber roll cage that you see, that is a European only option, and we won't be getting that in the US. Now, opting for the Weissach package also allows you to option these new magnesium wheels, and they are a bit of addition by subtraction because they reduce unsprung weight by just under 20 pounds. And on a vehicle like the GT3, every pound matters. There have been some changes to the powertrain, a lot of it necessitated by increasing emissions regulations. It's still a 4-liter naturally aspirated boxer 6-cylinder sitting right behind me that revs all the way out till 9,000 RPM. Horsepower is the same, 502 horsepower, but it's actually down on torque a bit compared to the old car. Now, in part to offset that loss of torque, what Porsche says they've done is they've changed the final drive ratio of the transmission. So this was already a car that loved to rev before. It loved to go from like 3 to 9,000 RPM in what felt like an instant. With that revised final drive ratio, it revs even faster now, and it makes you feel more connected. Their engineers tell me that a corner before where you used to maybe have to downshift into second, because it revs so freely now, you can just take that corner in third and stay on the throttle right through it. So if you are paying all that money for a GT3, if outright speed isn't what you're getting, what is it that you're paying for? So if we go down and look at the rest of the 911 lineup, this actually makes the least torque out of any of the 911s once you get to the Carrera S and above, and it actually has the slowest 0 to 60 time. So Porsche says this thing is estimated at 3.2 seconds, but even a Carrera S is doing it in 3.1 seconds, the GTS all the way down in 2.9 seconds, and we're not even going to mention the turbo models, which haven't even gotten to the 992.2 update for those yet. Now, I know I mentioned that the GTS has all that extra power, has way more horsepower, way more torque now than this vehicle. And yes, it's true that it will beat it in a straight line, but anything with a turn is where the GT3 strikes back. That new GTS goes around the Nürburgring in about 7 minutes and 16 seconds. Now, Porsche hasn't put a 992.2 around the ring and released a time that we know of yet. But the Gen 1 car, that goes around the Nürburgring in just under 7 minutes. So even the car that's the predecessor to this one, it's still about 16 seconds faster around the Nürburgring than the GTS with all that extra power. And that's because the GT3, you can take all these corners at such higher speeds. It is so stable, this car. Under braking, it doesn't move. Under cornering, it doesn't move. It's just flat. So while the GT3 might not be the fastest in a straight line, what race course do you know that's in a straight line? What fun road do you drive that's in a straight line? Oh my goodness. The steering on this car is, and I don't use this word lightly, it's absolutely perfect. The amount of feedback that you get is incredible for a non-hydraulic system. It feels so precise and on center. The weighting is just, I wish that I could take this wheel off and take the way that this car steers with me everywhere I go, because they've absolutely nailed it. When you let this engine whine, it never gets old. I could be here all day. And the very cool thing about the GT3 is that it feels like it can too. Here we come down the front straight. We're gonna wind it all the way out. 9,000 RPM. 230, 240. I know that there are other cars for less money that might beat the GT3 in a straight line, even in the Porsche family, but none of them move like this. None of them dance like this. It is hard to explain just how much confidence this car gives you. It's unshakable, the way it brakes, the way it steers. It's just, my hands are shaking. As we get ready to head out on a street drive with a touring model of the GT3, we just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that yes, your eyes are not deceiving you. The 992.2 generation of the GT3 looks very, very similar to the 992.1. Changes are very subtle and easy to miss. There's a bit of a nip tuck to the front bumper to change airflow, some slight changes to the headlights, and the wing is a little bit bigger on non-touring models. But apart from that, you will be very hard pressed to tell these two apart. The Touring itself also gets some specific updates, including the addition of 2 rear seats as a no-cost option for those who want to nominally increase the car's seating capacity to 4. So here in the Touring, we've got the manual transmission. It's a 6-speed manual taken from the 911 ST short throw manual with a lighter flywheel. Also has a rev matching system that works very seamlessly. It's funny because, you know, driving these cars, I actually really liked having the PDK on the track because the car is just faster with the PDK. There's no arguing that. But here on a regular road, I'm actually loving the manual a lot. So for me, if I was going to track the car a bunch, I would go for the automatic, but if it was going to be just like a weekend car, this manual is incredibly satisfying. The manual also has a shorter final drive ratio, and while that's good for responsiveness, it also means that on the highway, it's gonna cruise at like 3,000 RPM, and that is real noisy. Good noise, because it's a GT3, but still, it's a lot. This touring model also comes with the lightweight package, and there's a German word for that, but I'm not even gonna try to pronounce it. I'm just gonna put that on the screen down here. This lightweight package costs even more than the Weissach package, and it comes with a lot of the same sort of carbon fiber bits to it, but it also comes with these carbon fiber bucket seats, same as we had in the GT3 I drove earlier. And while those seats are great for the track, they're not necessarily as great for the street. You can actually adjust them now, which you couldn't before, but you can't lean them back enough to really be comfortable. If it were up to me, the lightweight package is something I would skip if I was going for a touring. So after spending a day with the GT3, driving it both on the track and on the street, I can say that this latest generation completely fulfills its mission of being a vehicle that you can drive to the track, at the track, and home again, and enjoy it all the way through. Now, as to the question of whether I would have this one or the touring version, for me, I would have to go with this one. Now, I get the appeal of having a touring and making it sort of an incognito GT3, but for me, if I were to buy one of these, I would want everyone to know it, and this big wing does exactly that. And now we come to the question of price, because the GT3 has always been expensive. The 992.1 started at around $185,000, but this one has tipped the price scales all the way up to about $220,000. And that is a lot more money to pay for what are really some incremental improvements. So I would say that if you had a 992.1, you can probably stick with it and not pay the extra, but I can understand why you would want to, because to me, this is the best GT3 that Porsche has ever made. Now, does it have the fastest 0 to 60 time of the 911 lineup? No, it does not, but it is by far my favorite vehicle out of that range, because what Porsche has done is they've taken a race car and turned it into something that even non-race car drivers can take to a track and drive to the absolute limit. It's the rare vehicle that makes you feel like you're a better driver, and that is something you can't put a price on. Thanks for watching.